You're listening to Weird Medicine with Dr. Steve on the Riotcast Network, riotcast.com.
I need some touching in the carotid. I've got diphtheria crushing my esophagus. I've got Ebola virus dripping from my nose. I've got the leprosy of the heart valve, exacerbating my incredible woes. I want to take my brain out and blast it with the wave, an ultrasonic, echographic, and a pulsating shave. I want a magic pill for all my ailments, the health equivalent to Citizen Kane. And if I don't get it now in the tablet, I think I'm doomed and I'll have to go insane. I want a requiem for my disease, so I'm paging Dr. Steve. Dr. Steve.
It's Weird Medicine, the first and still only uncensored medical show in the history of broadcast radio, now on podcast. I'm Dr. Steve with my little pal, Dr. Scott, the traditional Chinese medical practitioner who keeps the alternative medicine assholes at bay. Hello, Dr. Scott.
Hey, Dr. Steve.
This is a show for people who would never listen to a medical show on the radio or the internet. If you've got a question you're embarrassed to take to your regular medical provider, if you can't find an answer anywhere else, give us a call at 347-766-4323. That's 347-POOHEAD. Follow us on Twitter at Weird Medicine or at drscottwm. When she's here, at Lady Diagnosis. Visit our website at drsteve.com for podcasts, medical news, and stuff you can buy, or go to our merchandise store at cafepress.com/Weird Medicine. Most importantly, we are not your medical providers. Take everything here with a grain of salt. Don't act on anything you hear on this show without talking it over with your doctor, nurse practitioner, physician assistant, pharmacist, chiropractor, acupuncturist, yoga master, physical therapist, clinical laboratory scientist, or whatever. All right, very good. Hey, don't forget to check out stuff.drsteve.com. That's stuff.drsteve.com for all your Amazon needs. We have the Navage on there. It's getting ready to be allergy season, and the Navage is a delightful way to keep your nose clean. It's under $100. Use it over and over and over again. I'm a true believer. I think if you want to use a neti pot, that's up to you. Please use distilled water. But what I want you to do, if you use a neti pot, is Google image neti pot users, and you'll see how stupid you look. And then you'll want to go buy a Navage. So anyway, you can get one at stuff.drsteve.com. I am currently using headphones by tweakedaudio.com. Tweakedaudio.com. Offer code FLUID. Well, my voice cracked. How am I 13? Fluid. Offer code FLUID for 33% off, which is, as somebody pointed out to me, I once said, it's like buying 3 for the price of 2. Idiot. Stupid. Oh, wait. Well.
There you go.
Well, you just start saying stuff, your brain's sort of in neutral. Anyway, it's like buying... No, that was right.
That is correct, yeah.
Oh, now I'm really stupid.
That wasn't... I was wondering where you're going with that.
No, I said, I guess one time I was doing that promo, and I said it's like buying 2 for the price of 3.
Right.
It actually is like buying 3 for the price of 2.
Give yourself a bill.
Idiot.
There you go.
God, I'm dumb.
Close.
Anyway, and I call Big Joe dumb, but she actually is dumb.
She is.
She thinks 8 times 8 is 16. And then she says, I can multiply. Multiply. Don't you know? Anyway, it's just that's a
Whole nother story. Yeah.
black hole of different proportions. Simplyherbals.net. Check out Dr. Scott's website. It's, again, allergy season. There's nothing better for your allergies right now, really. I got to say, I've been very impressed with Dr. Scott's nasal rinse. The other thing that I like that you don't sell on that is that, what is that nasal, xanthium nasal for? What is that?
That's an old Chinese herbal medicine formula called xanthium, and it's a formula just made of a bunch of different leaves and herbs that work on sinus inflammation. It's wonderful.
Actually quite impressive. Yep. So, but now if you see Dr. Scott and you complain of that, he'll sell you that shit, but I guess you don't sell it on your website.
Not yet, but I could.
Yeah, well, you could.
I could.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe I should.
Go to so anyway, check him out at simplyherbals.net. If you're interested in losing weight with me, I'm 5 pounds away from my ideal body weight as of right now, so I'll give myself one of these. 5 pounds away from my ideal body weight, first time since I was about 3 years out of college. So, and I did it using Noom. And so check out noom.drsteve.com. It's noom.drsteve.com. You can get 2 weeks free, and you can get 20% off your program. The program's just 12 to 16 weeks. It's cheaper than, well, I don't want to say cheaper. It's less expensive than Weight Watchers. And with that 20% coupon that you get by going to noom.drsteve.com, it's even less expensive than that. And you can try it out for 2 weeks with no obligation. It's just free. Now, you won't get your group. You won't get the sort of value-added stuff until you sign up for the real program. But the first 2 weeks for me were, I learned a lot, and I started losing weight from day one, even without my group. You get a group counselor, and you get an individual counselor as well. I am a true believer in Noom. It's not a diet. It's psychology. You can do any diet you want, but you got to deal with the psychology of eating. It basically changes your relationship with food. And speaking of food, Freshly has $40 off if you go to freshly.drsteve.com. What Freshly is they deliver fresh prepared meals that make eating right super easy. You can use my link and get 6 dinners for $39 for 2 weeks, and that's $20 off each week. Give it a try and let me know what you think. Now, so we used to do Blue Apron on the show. May do it again.
Yep.
Love Blue Apron.
Yep.
Blue Apron, if you need, an ounce of balsamic vinegar, they send you an ounce of balsamic vinegar. You don't have to go buy a whole jar. Or a jar? Who buys a jar of vinegar? You don't have to buy a whole bottle of vinegar,
Right.
And you just have what you need. But you still have to do the prep yourself. You got to cut up the radishes and do all this stuff, and it's fun. I learned a lot of cooking techniques doing that, and I'm a reasonably accomplished chef.
They had a great variety of flavors.
Awesome.
Great variety.
You can go to blueapron.com/weirdmedicine and check them out. Then I tried that Terrace Kitchen because they do all the prep for you, so you don't have to cut up any radishes or cut up any radicchio or can I just name a bunch of other weird vegetables? But because it's already done for you. And then I got even lazier than that and said, well, maybe somebody sells food already made. And that's what Freshly is. So it's already made. If you're, a lonely eater like I am, this is really good food. You can sort it by calories, by ingredients. If there are things you don't like, they just won't show them to you. You can do. They're all gluten-free and they're all pretty healthy. And everything I've had has been very tasty. Some things I like better than others, but I've liked everything I had. $40 off of Freshly by going to freshly.drsteve.com. And then the last thing is premium.drsteve.com. If you want to get archives of the show. You get full access to every show we've ever done for Riotcast, plus some premium content. And if you use offer code FLUID for that, you get half off. It's only $1.99 a month now. So for $1 a month for 3 months, you can get premium access to the show. Just download them all and then cancel it. I don't care. I'm just trying to keep my employers out of my archives because we used to do some stuff on this show that was a little more wilder than we do now. But anyway.
Yep.
All right. So there you go. What do you got?
Well, the very last person you listed on our intro was the research scientist, which I was reading.
Oh, yeah.
A really disturbing thing today. I guess a father and son in Illinois have been arrested, and federal prosecutors have charged them with getting people who are donating their bodies to science.
Yeah.
They're taking these cadavers and selling them on the black market to researchers who thought they were perfectly healthy individuals. So they've not done any kind of vetting of these individuals. They've got all kinds of diseases and stuff. They're passing them on as healthy cadavers.
Was this one of those places like that guy that we had in here where they do sort of you donate your body and then they parcel out the parts? We need to get him in here.
It's
yeah, no, I know. Yeah. I wasn't going to say his name unless he was
that's
in
why I
here.
didn't say it. Yeah, but he does it, and he's legit.
Well, he's totally legit.
Oh, yeah.
So we need to get him in here. Will you give me a note?
Yeah.
To remind me to get him in here,
Sure.
and we got to talk about that particular
that'd
article
be great
because we want to see if that's somebody that. Well, shit.
Yeah.
Damn it! I could get him on right now. Let me hang on a second. Let me see if I can get him on the phone. Because that is despicable.
It is despicable, yeah. They're passing they're taking these people who are donating their body to science.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want to donate your body to science so that what your demise can improve someone else's.
Hey, boss.
Hey, man. Hey, can you be on the radio like right now?
Sure, if you need me to be.
Okay, so you are.
You are.
What am I talking about?
Okay. So Scott found an article. Have you heard about these people? What's the article, Scott?
So it's in Rosemont, Illinois. A father and son.
Rosemont, Illinois. Father and son. They were
accused of selling diseased
body parts
on the black market.
Do you know anything about that? Because
I didn't know it was father and son.
But you know about the case.
There was a group, Biological Resources. Are we live?
Yes,
we are. Yeah.
Yes, that's why I'm.
Okay.
And he is right. That's the company.
Rosemont, Illinois, Arizona, and Detroit, Michigan. There was a group of 3 that got shut down 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
That were allegedly distributing specimens that had tested positive for things like HIV and hepatitis.
I see. Okay, so when you guys, when an ethical place does this, you all screen people for certain diseases that you will not accept them for donation, and then organ or body part, whatever it is, whatever you call it is, whatever you do.
Well, it's a 2-step process. Yeah, we initially ask them to fill out what we call medical social history, which lets us know whether they have been diagnosed or possibly have been exposed to something that is, even a venereal disease. We even ask about that, but we ask about viral hepatitis. We ask about HIV 1 and 2, syphilis, those sort of things.
Yeah.
And the second part, which is the most important, is we contract with a CLIA-certified lab that can test the blood, and we run serologies on each sample. On each donor, we draw a sample, and each donor is tested individually. And if anyone comes back reactive or positive for those things, we have to discard the entire donor, that gift that they've given us. We have to, in other words, cremate the entire thing.
Okay.
We've had 2 in the last week that has gone that way.
If someone wants to donate their body to science, to somebody like you, and they don't live where we do, where you're so convenient, what do they look for?
They can just search body donation, pretty much. We'll bring it up, and then put their city and state. Obviously, the first choices that are going to come up are going to be universities, which is good. We don't discourage that. The downside to universities versus our organization is, number one, they keep the body sometimes
forever.
At least 2 years,
yeah.
and a lot of times they do not return the ashes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times there's a charge, where with our nonprofit public charity, there's not a charge. And in addition to that, we return the cremated remains that are not used for research within 30 days of the death.
Yeah.
We file the death certificate. We do the cremation. We do everything as if you went out and arranged a cremation, except there's no charge. And then in addition to that,
and you get a free cremation out of it.
You get a free cremation, but it's so much more than that. Just say someone has suffered from ALS, Parkinson's, you name it, some form of cancer, mesothelioma, lung cancer. We have researchers across the country and now across the world that we can send a sample to, that as long as we get the body in time to preserve those cells that study that cancer or study that autoimmune disease.
Sure.
We, everything from immunotherapy for cancer to this new group we're working with we're working on epithelial cells to kill the blood vessels that feed the tumor versus just killing the tumor.
Right. Yeah, we can't advance science without having specimens. And when people do this, they're actually, it's always tragic. Look, the price of admission to this world is we got to leave it at some point. That's one of the prices of admission. The other one apparently is you got to marry 3 different crazy women, but that's a whole other thing.
Whole other story.
The third one being less crazy than the other 2. But you also can turn some of that tragedy into joy in the sense that you're helping somebody else. If you can't donate your organs to live donation, which is rare. You have to be brain dead on life support. Most of us don't go out that way. This is a way that you can help other people by furthering science and furthering the knowledge in medicine, and that's incremental. You just never know when we're going to have a huge breakthrough. So.
Yeah, and I think it's important to our donors and our families. I mean, we're one of the few groups that'll actually go out and sit at their kitchen table and do their paperwork.
Yeah.
We are probably the only group that one of our staff personally delivers the urn and the ashes back to the family.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it means a lot to them that their loved one is fighting that disease process that killed them. I mean, just that they can be a soldier in that battle to hope to find a cure for whatever killed that one they really
I like
care
the
about.
psychology of that. I really do. Okay. All right, man. Well, I knew you would know the answer to that, and we were just, I wondered what the context of this thing was, because, of course, medical journalism gets it all wrong. They were just talking about, well, they're selling diseased body parts. You just had this idea of, just people rotting in some room, and they're just selling, rotting arms and legs. But what it really was they were exposing researchers to viruses that they had claimed were not in those specimens, and that's the real bad part of that. So
that's exactly right. Somehow they got turned on to some of those guys and started looking at whether they had even ran the serology panels. And allegedly, from what I read, based on the news story, they determined that they had not tested them, or they had tested them, and some of them turned out reactive or positive for these results, but yet they hid that from the researchers.
Okay.
So that's really what happened.
And again, it's all alleged. We don't. Hell, we're reading a news story. We weren't there, but very interesting. All right, man. Hey, do you want to plug anything, or do you want to just leave it at that?
I'm say that again. I lost you just for a second.
No, I was saying, do you want to plug anything, or do you want to just get the hell off of here as quickly as you can?
Well, I mean, one of our mottos this year is "Do not cremate the cure." So, in other words, if you're looking not to just be cremated, but if you're looking for your final arrangement, final position to be cremation, you got to look at body donation.
Yep.
You could help so many people through that process. You're still going to get cremated. It's not going to cost you anything, and you're going to fight all these disease processes. Even people without cancer, we do these rapid autopsies where we recover normal, healthy tissues that they compare to.
You got to have normal tissue too.
So even those without cancer help in the battle against cancer.
That's how we determine when things are abnormal, is because we've examined so many normal people.
Absolutely.
So
you got like Dr. Scott, you and I, abnormal.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yes.
You got to have. It takes all kinds, my friend. Well, I know the funeral directors just love hearing you say, come get your free cremation. So I was actually
I'm sure I'll be getting some love later. I appreciate that.
All right. Well, listen, thanks, man. I appreciate your time, and thanks for being there for us today.
Anytime. Talk soon.
All right, buddy. See you. All right. So I was on Jim and Sam today.
Oh, cool.
Talking about the Event Horizon Telescope. Did you see the image of the black hole?
I did.
Now look, people are going, oh, it's fuzzy.
Yeah.
What you're trying to look at is the head of a pin from using a telescope from like New York City to London. And you're trying to zoom in on the head of a pin.
Yep.
This telescope that they created took all of its data 2 years ago. And it is the telescope itself is the size of the planet.
Right.
Okay. So this was a millimeter something wavelength telescope. So they were using microwaves, which will penetrate through cloud layers. These clouds are basically transparent to microwaves. So that's a good thing for looking into places where there's a lot of dust and just shit obscuring things.
Right.
And they got this image, and you go, well, and it looks like, a Krispy Kreme or something with glaze on the bottom of it.
Right.
And this thing actually is outstanding. First off, yes, it's blurry. The size of this in the diameter of the sky is, it's in micro arc seconds. So the sky is divided up into 360 degrees. And each one of those degrees has 60 minutes. Each 60 minute has 60 seconds, in space. So you're dividing the whole sky up 360, and then within each one of those 360 divisions, there's 60 divisions of 60 divisions. So
Right.
there's 360 right there. And then this is micro arc seconds. So this is millionths of one of those
Sections.
1/60th of a section.
Yeah.
Okay, of a 1/60th of the whole thing. So it's unbelievably tiny that they were able to resolve this thing. This is an incredible feat of engineering and science that they were able to coordinate all these different telescopes. So how do they make a telescope the size of the Earth? Well, what it is it's got the discerning ability of a telescope the size of the Earth. It does not have a resolution of a giant dish the size of the Earth.
Right.
Okay, so what you're doing is increasing your baseline. So you've got a telescope in Australia and one in Los Angeles.
Didn't they say weren't there 8 different telescopes across the world? They were in high, dry places, and that's how they coordinated them to all cover the face of the Earth.
Yeah, made up of 8 independent observatories, and then they got so much data that they couldn't send it through the internet. They had to actually bring the hard drives and just have somebody fly them to this place to put all this data together.
Wow. Yeah, because it's not like they took a snapshot of it and
No.
magically looked at it. There's a lot of processing involved.
Oh, yeah, it took 2 years, and we've been anticipating seeing this image, and most people who knew something about it knew it was going to look like this. I think some people were expecting something a little more dramatic, but this is unbelievably dramatic if you know the history of this, because Einstein, whose field equations for gravity predicted this, he thought that was a flaw in his
calculations
theory. A couple of things he thought were flaws turned out to be real. The cosmologic constant was one, and this. And, more and more we were seeing things in the center of galaxies that were severely red-shifted on one side and severely blue-shifted on the other. So light is always constant speed. So when you have light, things accelerating toward you, the light can't go any faster, but it can become more energetic. And when light becomes more energetic, it turns bluer, right?
Right.
It's just like arc welding, compared to a match. The match is kind of yellowish orange. Arc welding is bright. It shines in the ultraviolet too. So because it's more energetic. Likewise, when things are going away from you, they're still going away from you at the same speed, but because of that constancy of the speed of light, they have to lose energy, or apparently lose energy. So when you see them, they become redshifted. And this thing is showing a couple of things. One is the total warpage of space around the black hole event horizon, because that's the only way that no matter where you look at this, it's going to look like a donut. Okay. So we couldn't be south of this and look up and just see it edge on. Okay. It's never going to look like that because of the way space is warped around it. Excuse me. Light that grazes over the top is going to curve around the back side of the black hole and come back out the front. And some light will go into orbit, but some of it that's not quite in the orbit, will escape, and we'll be able to see it. And because of that effect, and there are a couple of it's hard to describe on the radio, but there are a couple of YouTube videos that demonstrate this very nicely. When you warp space that much, the pathway of light becomes warped to the point where you will always see it looking like this. So if you went north of this thing, it would be almost as if that donut is following you.
Okay.
Just to always orient itself. And then the bright part at the bottom is another confirmation of general relativity as well, because a lot of these the matter is traveling at some significant fraction of the speed of light. And as it travels away from us, it's redshifting, and so it's becoming dimmer. So it's pretty neat.
That is cool.
So this is actually outstanding.
Right.
And
I think people look at it, they don't realize how much information is in that picture.
Right.
For someone trained that can actually discern what exactly is going on.
We have had, so, and I told Jim and Sam to Google this, and anyone that's listening to this should Google this as well. Google video or YouTube this. The motion of orbits of stars around the supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy. I think you can just put that in. And these other scientists have been monitoring stars that are close to the central supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy. This one, by the way, was 55 million light years away. Mm-hmm. It's just a giant black hole. Yeah. So the one in our galaxy is still supermassive, but it's not as massive. But it's closer, so we'll see what kind of image we get from it. But they've been watching the orbits of these stars, and they've done it for 20 years. And you can see the technology get better as the video progresses, because the images get sharper and sharper. But you can see them whipping around something that isn't there.
Okay.
They'll come down, and then all of a sudden they speed up, and then they whip around, and then slow back down again, and then do it again, just over and over and over again. And there's nothing there.
Right.
You can't see anything. So that was indirect confirmation that there's a supermassive black hole in the center of our galaxy, but it's indirect.
Okay.
You're by indirect, we're inferring that it's there based on what we're seeing happening around it.
Right.
This is a different thing. We're actually seeing the effects of warpage of space. We're not actually seeing the black hole, but we're seeing the effects on it, on its local environment. This is the first direct observational evidence that black holes exist, even though we knew they were there. Mm-hmm. But scientists, they won't settle until they can see something like this.
So, and aren't they expecting another black hole image to show up soon? Right? Is that what they're talking last night?
They've imaged the one in the center of our galaxy.
Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure what they meant. But they've got it. They've got a new one coming in. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you don't have to back off quite that far. But the way I've got these mics, they're just really super overdoing this. So anyway, it's pretty neat. So that'll be interesting to see the difference.
Cool. Looks good.
All right. Well,
it's pretty exciting.
I got a couple of. Here's an interesting news thing: a comparison of gender-linked population cancer risks between alcohol and tobacco. How many cigarettes are there in a bottle of wine? So this is from British BMC Public Health. And the abstract says, in contrast to our knowledge about the number of cancers attributed to smoking, number of cancers attributed to alcohol, I don't like the sound of that.
No. That's terrible news.
Boo, science. Is poorly understood by the public. No shit. We estimate the increase in absolute risk of cancer, the number of cases per 1,000, attributed to moderate levels of alcohol, and compare those to the absolute risk of cancer attributed to low levels of smoking. So what they're trying to do is say, we're going to see if we can attribute a certain number of cases per 1,000 to alcohol. Okay. And then we know how many cases there are for tobacco. Let's just compare them, and then we can say, if you drink 3 glasses of wine, is that equivalent to a pack of cigarettes or whatever? So creating a cigarette equivalent of population cancer harm, which is interesting because people can understand that. Mm-hmm. When I talk to people about their narcotic use, we don't use the word narcotic, but our listeners understand that. Our opioid use. Mm-hmm. I might say, well, you're on the pump that you're on is delivering 800 milligrams of oral morphine equivalents per day. And they'll just give me a blank stare. But if I say it's the equivalent of 80 Lortab 10s a day, I'm speaking in Lortab 10 equivalents, then they go, oh, God, because they understand that.
Right on.
Most people understand you smoke more, you're at higher risk of cancer. So they're taking alcohol and converting it to cigarette risk, number of cigarette risk. Okay? Mm-hmm. So a cigarette equivalent population cancer harm. So they did this with alcohol and tobacco fractions where they were subtracted from lifetime general population risks of developing alcohol and smoking-related cancers. And they did that to estimate the lifetime cancer risk in alcohol abstaining non-smokers. Okay, so they subtracted everything out, looked at the people that never smoked and never drank, estimated what their cancer risk was, and then went back to the people who either smoked, drank, or did both.
Okay.
Okay, so 1 bottle of wine per week, Jesus, is associated with an increased absolute lifetime cancer risk for non-smokers of 1%. So it's not a lot.
Not much, no.
The risk to you is not high. That means you've got to, 100 people, maybe one person will have an extra cancer. So the number needed to harm would be 1. 1.4 for women. The overall absolute increase in cancer risk for 1 bottle of wine per week, my wife's going to die tomorrow, equals that of 5 men or 10 cigarettes per week. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 cigarettes for men or 10 cigarettes per week for women. So women are getting the shaft on this. Gender different, and we should do this when lady diagnosis is here. It won't make any difference. She'll still drink.
She'll still drink.
Gender differences result from levels of moderate drinking leading to a 0.8% absolute risk of breast cancer in female non-smokers. This sucks. We need another.
This is a terrible study.
The great thing about science is somebody will come out with another study next week that says it's drinking a bottle of wine is good for you.
Right.
And it probably is. So you got to weigh this. So 1 in 100 people may get 1 extra cancer, or 1 out of 100 cancers may be attributable to alcohol. How many lives are we saving with heart disease, though? So this may be that risk versus benefit thing. So we'll have to look at that. Maybe we'll look at that for a future show, and we'll do a report on it.
I think I saw years ago the benefits of moderate drinking was based on the fact that it's because moderate drinkers tend to be more social and have healthier social lives.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they were suggesting that, of course, drinking alone is not encouraged, but having a couple of drinks a day, even daily, 2 to 4 drinks a day daily in a social environment is actually considered going to give you the best longevity compared to all others.
Today's episode is brought to you by Angie. Angie has made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your jobs and projects done well. Let me tell you, there's the version of it where you try to do something at home, and then there's a version of it where you have someone help you, you watch them do it the right way, and you go, thank God I didn't try to do that myself. I have fully done things around the home that I think look good, and then a bang in the night, and I wake up to a shelf collapsing, a painting falling off the wall. I've seen it all go south. I own a home, and I can tell you, I know how much work it can take. Whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality, it can be hard just to know where to start. But now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Whatever your home project, big or small, indoor or outdoor, you can Angie that and connect with skilled professionals to get the project done well. Right now, one of my wish lists is I want a bike for my condo in Milwaukee, and I would love to rig it up on a pulley in the ceiling because I have one of those lofted ceilings, but I'm so scared to try that on my own. Angie has 20 years of home experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly, which means you can take care of any home project in just a few taps. Because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
This is from Mayo Clinic. Moderate alcohol consumption and I would say 1 bottle a week is certainly moderate. May provide some health benefits such as reducing your risk of developing and dying from heart disease, reducing your risk of ischemic stroke, and possibly reducing your risk of diabetes. So you got to weigh all this stuff.
Hey, and then when they talk about a bottle, they're talking like a bomber or a...
I don't know. Yeah, Jeroboam, one of those big
exactly.
things that comes up to your tits.
Now we're talking.
Let me see. It says, while moderate alcohol use may be of benefit for individuals who have existing risk factors for heart disease, you can take other steps to improve your heart health besides drinking. Well, shut up, Mayo.
But nothing else makes
fun.
Nothing else is as fun.
Now, heavy alcohol use.
That's different.
Defined as more than 3 drinks on any day or more than 7 drinks a week for women, Oh, my wife is in big trouble.
I'm screwed too.
Or for men older than age 65, and more than 4 drinks on any day, or more than 14 drinks a week for men age 65. Oh, well, hell, I can do 14 drinks a
Easily.
week, no problem. Okay, and then binge drinking. So excessive drinking can increase your risk of serious health problems, including certain cancers, including breast cancer and cancers of the mouth, throat, esophagus, and liver. The head and neck cancer has got to pretty much be coupled with HPV, though.
Sure.
Pancreatitis, sudden death if you have cardiovascular disease. So if you have cardiovascular disease, don't binge drink.
No.
And and then the other things that go with alcoholism, like alcoholic cardiomyopathy and stuff like that.
Sure.
Well, that's not really what we're talking about. So
No.
but anyway, it says here, if you don't drink alcohol, don't start because you think it has potential health benefits. That's reasonable. But we used to tell people if they were teetotalers, because we live in an area where a lot of people just don't drink, that 4 ounces of red grape juice may confer the same benefit as 4 ounces of wine, because it's the resveratrol that in the grapes that really confers a lot of the benefit, not necessarily the alcohol.
Right.
But anyway, it's controversial. When we did the sommelier episode, we also talked about this. And, I found one study that said it was the resveratrol. Another one said it was definitely the alcohol. So nobody really knows.
No.
So
But
just go easy.
Moderation.
Of course.
Let me tell you real quick. In
Yeah,
England,
yeah.
I remember seeing a study a couple of years ago, and they were interviewing folks in London on what their thoughts are on the research and what they would consider moderate drinking, right? And the consensus was for these guys in London, 8 pints a day was considered moderate.
Well, that's the whole thing about when you're trying to decide what's normal.
Right.
It really has to do with the sample.
It is.
We see this, we talk about on the show frequently when you're looking at things like testosterone. And when you're trying to determine, well, what's normal, you're going to go to the populace and start drawing blood, determining what the levels are, get the mean, and then do 2 standard deviations from the mean and consider that normal. Well, what if inside that population is a huge group of people who have what we would call clinically low testosterone because they're symptomatic, but they've never been diagnosed. And now you're skewing that sample size down. So when you go to London and ask people what's the normal amount of alcohol intake, you're kind of skewing the curve a little bit.
Right on.
So
Yes, we had to consider
that was London?
Yeah, London. Yeah, those guys love their
They do.
their pints.
One last news report. This is from the New York Post, that prestigious medical journal. Should masturbation breaks become the new smoke breaks?
I love to masturbate.
Oh, yeah.
I love to masturbate.
According to some psychologists, masturbation break would be very effective at work and a great way to relieve tension and stress.
There you go.
Have you ever beat off at work?
No.
I will have to say I have.
Oh, well.
Not in my current job.
No.
But a long, long time ago when I had a different job.
Yeah.
And, you get all wound up and have to take a break and,
Relieve some stress.
I guess, get the poison out.
Expel those evil humors.
Psychologist and life coach Dr. Cliff Arnall agrees. I would expect a masturbation policy to result in more focus, less aggression, higher productivity, and more smiling. I don't think that's true. I would not be more productive after beating off.
No.
Because I just need a nap, and in the old days, a cigarette and a beer.
Would they make this like a team kind of
Oh, no,
a bonding thing?
No,
for
that's
the
a little
team?
different. Now that I could get behind. I actually did have to masturbate at work once in the hospital because I had to give a sperm sample and they wanted a fresh one.
Okay.
So I had to go in the bathroom in the hospital and jerk one off. And I was so terrified that the door lock wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? Even in the 1 in a million chance
Oh, I
somebody
know.
walks in and
I
you're
know.
beating off
I know.
in the hospital and you're a doctor.
That would have been terrible.
I still, even then, had a high percentage of 2-headed sperm and non-motile sperm. So I remember calling Tacey because we were having trouble getting pregnant. And I went, it's me. But it turned out that that's normal for somebody my age.
Right.
I still had plenty of good ones.
Good ones, right?
Yeah, gooder.
Thankfully, you definitely turned out at least 2 good ones.
Yeah, that's right. Uh-oh. Okay,
sure.
They're not a sponsor, but let's check the Ring video doorbell and see who's at the front door.
It's got to be.
Hang on. Here we go. Oh, come on. Oh, it's UPS. Thank you. Okay. Ooh, there's a package down there. I wonder what it is. It's like Christmas, Dr. Scott.
Cool.
Okay. So according to Arnall, however, masturbation breaks shouldn't be driven by lust or fantasizing about a colleague, as this would likely result in cognitive impairment. Well, this is just the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
That's crazy.
Can you imagine mandating this? Okay, well, you guys can have masturbation breaks, but don't think about any of the, the women
but
or
your
the
coworkers
men.
are off.
Yeah, right. Sargent warned, this is some MD, introducing any form of sexual behavior to a workplace could be seen as a slippery slope that makes people think other forms of sexual behavior, such as those linked to harassment, are more acceptable. Do you think?
Yeah.
You think that might be a problem?
I love to masturbate. I love to masturbate. I love to masturbate. I love to masturbate.
And what are they
Oh, here we go.
suggesting? A special room?
Yeah, right. They'll just whip it out at your desk.
Yeah.
For every 52 minutes spent on the job, workers should be allowed to have 17 minutes off the clock in order to maximize their productivity. Really?
Oh, what the hell? We're in the wrong
Wait a minute.
profession.
Okay. Really? Okay, hang on a second. Alexa, what is shit, never mind.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I bet you didn't.
No.
What do I want to do? Okay, Alexa, what's 8 times 60? This I can do in my head, but
8 times 60 is 480.
Alexa, what's 480 divided by 52?
480 divided by 52 is 9.2308.
Alexa, what's 9.3278 times 17?
9.3278 times 17 is 158.5726.
What's 158 divided by 60? Oh, Alexa, what's 158 divided by 60?
158 divided by 60 is 2.6333.
So they want us to have 2.5 hours off every day.
That's a lot.
These maniacs. I mean, sounds great to me, but we're the most productive country in the world. We wouldn't be if everybody got 2.5 hours off a day.
No.
Because you can always grab a coffee or a cigarette instead, masturbation has remained an ultra form, I don't know how to pronounce that, of getting that added boost you need to power through your workday. However, there are signs that the stigma against masturbation at the office may be slipping. This year, the company Hot Octopus debuted masturbation booths across New York City to give men a public place to relieve stress. Instead of reacting with disgust, women wanted to know where their masturbatoriums were. Why should men have all the fun? Well, that's a good point.
Good point.
Oh, boy. Okay. This article is just
interesting.
Asinine. So, you want to take some phone calls?
Let's do it.
Number one thing, don't take advice from some asshole on the radio.
All right. Thank you, Ronnie B. It's absolutely true.
Hey, Dr. Steve. My name is Jacob. The reason I was calling is I just had a quick question. I'm currently going through a divorce, and it's been pretty tough. I've been seeing a counselor for a while, and he was saying something about adjustment disorder.
Sure.
I'm wondering if you can tell me any differences that would be between adjustment disorder and depression, and if you would recommend medication for either of those. All right, thanks.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a great question. So they diagnosed him with adjustment disorder. We'll call that situational depression or reactive depression. Mm-hmm. I mean, sadness is a natural human emotion, and we will grieve even the shittiest relationship. Now, Let me ask you, you went through a crappy divorce. Well, you had a crappy marriage and a crappy divorce.
Yeah.
But when you finally, did you move out or did she?
No, I moved up.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
sure
did you feel grief when you did that?
Oh, of course, yeah. You feel bad. You feel like you've done something wrong and a failure, and And it's just a normal
You
thing.
grieve for that relationship and what you hoped that it could have been.
What it could have been, right.
So it's not all joy. Vacations cause stress. Even, it's weird. You go on vacations to get away from stress, but it's not well known that going on vacation can be stressful. I had arguably the shittiest marriage in the world, and I've talked about it on the radio before.
Yes.
And but I cried when I left the house.
Yeah, sure.
I packed all my shit up and I cried.
Yep, because you're losing something, and it's something that you did. I've never met anybody that got married with the intent to be divorced.
Right.
That was what we're hoping to do. Let's spend all this money on this fucking wedding and then get divorced.
And then give you half of everything,
or more,
including a painting that my dad gave me and my mom's wedding ring and 2/3 of my take-home pay.
Shit that they shouldn't want to take. They take because they think it's going to make them feel better.
It's coming to me. Yeah, I deserve it.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So, anyway.
And they've done it.
All right, sorry.
Well, good luck,
I got
buddy.
off on and it always drives me crazy when Big Joe will call us, and if she doesn't get her alimony check from Tacey's dad, she'll go, he didn't send me my paycheck. And hearing that word called a paycheck goes all over me just because of what the paychecks that I wrote for all those
for
years.
many years.
But anyway, so you do grieve even if it was crummy. Now, if you didn't want it to end, then it's going to be
Even
that much
worse,
worse.
yeah.
So situational and clinical depression are similar, but they're not the same. And, situational depression, as we already said, we'll call it adjustment disorder with depressed mood. That will often resolve in time. What I found when I had girl trouble, particularly in high school, was, a new girlfriend.
Sure.
that cured that pretty quickly. It was amazing how fast that would cure things.
Yep.
Now, if you don't recover, you could develop major depressive disorder, and that's an actual mental condition. So, major depression includes not just sadness, but loss of interest in doing things, loss of the ability to enjoy things. We'll call that anhedonia. Loss of interest in doing things is apathy. Changes in eating, changes in your sleep cycle, and we feel like this is caused by changes in certain chemicals in the brain, particularly serotonin and norepinephrine, and it can be related to genetics or it could be major life events. And you can take screening tools, but if you think you're depressed, fatigue is another one.
Sure.
I've known people
Insomnia.
who are depressed and they can have trouble falling asleep, or they could sleep too much.
Yeah, sleep too much. That's right.
They could quit eating, or they could eat too much. So it's difficult to just hang your hat on one set of symptoms. But if you feel like this is an issue for you, then going to a medical provider who's skilled in this, they've got some screening tools that they can do. There's some diagnostic tests. We will treat some of these with medication. It really depends on how severe they are. I mean, clinical depression can result in loss of productivity, suicide, loss of social ability, and even anxiety and agoraphobia and stuff like that. So we definitely want to treat that if it's affecting your life or has the potential to affect your life, or if it's putting you in a situation where it's affecting your quality of life, or you may be heading toward hurting yourself. So if you ever feel like you're going to hurt yourself, you have to tell somebody right away.
Right.
And
it sounds like at least he's kind of on the right track. He's using a counselor, and hopefully the counselor's showing him some good skill sets to work through this, and will help him recognize anything that's profoundly troubling.
And true situational depression should improve pretty
with
quickly.
Time, yeah. Especially when you get your new girlfriend.
Yep. Or whatever.
Or whatever.
Whatever
makes you happy.
Exercise seems weird when you're that tired, because when you have this, you're going to be really fatigued. the last thing you want to do is be active. But if you do, it actually releases chemicals into your bloodstream that may actually be effective for depression, or at least make you feel better in general.
Getting up first thing in the morning and getting vitamin D, getting some sunshine, early sunshine.
I don't disagree with that.
Is you'll get higher levels of vitamin D production, and that'll make you feel better. Increases some serotonin. So
really, now that I don't know.
Oh yes.
You may be
clinically proven.
Really?
Hey, no, the vitamin D it is.
Vitamin D and serotonin. Okay, now I got to look this up because I was
early morning sunshine. Increase.
Okay.
Higher levels of vitamin D.
I was with you till that, but here we go. In addition to its well-known role in calcium absorption, vitamin D activates genes that regulate the immune system and release neurotransmitters. In other words, dopamine
and
serotonin.
Give yourself a bill.
All right, Dr. Scott, I'm going to even give you a little bit of that. You say so much bullshit that I can't just, take what you say with
That's true.
without looking it up.
That's very true. It's a fair statement.
It says here, optimal vitamin D spurs serotonin release. It's another study on PubMed. You can check this stuff out on PubMed.com, which is a national library where any person with an internet connection can look at clinical trials and medical literature. And So, and what are we doing with a serotonin selective reuptake inhibitor? We are in the brain decreasing reuptake of serotonin. So serotonin is a neurotransmitter, goes from one neuron to the next, and then it's resorbed. Once it does the signal, it's resorbed, right? So if you block reabsorption, what are you going to do to those levels?
They're
going to increase.
Sure.
So if
more available.
So if you increase serotonin using an SSRI and it's effective for depression, increasing it using other things, you would presume would also do the same thing.
Right.
So I would love to see, our favorite thing, a double-blind placebo-controlled study, and there may be some. I just, I don't want to stop the show and I have to look it up, but we will. We'll do it off air and see if there's a double-blind placebo-controlled study that shows that actually increasing serotonin levels that way is clinically relevant as far as depression is concerned. So very good, Scott.
Worth a shot. Yeah.
You taught me something today.
There you go. Good stuff.
Yeah, you're a good feller.
Good stuff. We wish you well.
Hey, Dr. Steve. I have a weird question.
Whenever you called the right show.
Good. No matter how well I wipe my ass, a couple of hours later, maybe 3-4 hours tops, I'll go back, I'll run another piece of toilet paper up my crack, and there is shit on that paper just like I had just stood up. And I'm just wondering why. What causes that? It's like am I not done shitting when I think I'm done shitting? I even tried jumping off the toilet straight into the shower and washing my ass a couple of times, and I still end up with this little issue, and I'm just kind of curious. I don't know if my size may matter, but I am a little bit in the overweight side. Anyway, I'm just kind of curious what's up with that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. We've talked about this in the past with regard to hairy ass cracks. So back before you were on the show, Dr. Scott, I went and got a Brazilian wax just to see if it made any difference because I have a really gross hairy ass crack to the point where when I do my my colonoscopy and they bring the colonoscope and they always have a big TV right there and I don't do my colonoscopies with anesthesia so I can see this and I just see this gross hairy hole that they're just getting ready to shove this thing in. It just makes me physically kind of ill. And whenever I see the nurses in the hospital, I'll look at them and go, "Stop it! I know what you're doing. You're thinking about my hairy ass crack." But so when I had mine waxed, no more shit issues whatsoever. But if you have a hairy ass crack, getting that clean is very difficult. I have a whole routine where I finally am successful with this. But if you use toilet paper to wipe your ass, what's going to happen? It's like
smear it every damn where.
Exactly.
Yep.
Take a bare rug, dump some Vaseline on it, and try to wipe it off with newspaper. It's the same thing. And so wet wipes will help in a pinch. but a bidet is the key to this.
Yes.
And Howard Stern, I heard him talking recently. He's got one of those Toho. Is it Toho?
Toto.
Toto.
Yep, Toto.
The Toto toilet.
Yep.
And this thing will actually give you a mini enema. It will shoot water into your rectum and flush out the rectum of any residual stool, because we think a stool is being solid. It really isn't. It's sort of a semi-formed solid, but it breaks apart really easily, which is why you can flush it down, a sewer pipe, because it just breaks up when it gets in water. Take a turd sometime and just take a chopstick and swirl it around in there. It'll just turn into, brown water, right? So if you still have some fecal matter in the ampulla of the rectum, the part of the rectum that's right before the anus, it's just going to leak out. And then you've got a hairy ass crack where it's just going to subsume itself into the roots of the ass crack. And then when you come back later and take a wipe, there's going to be shit on it. So there are a couple things you can do. You could get one of those and use it and try to train yourself to void your bowels every morning or at some time when you're at home, and use that part to give yourself that sort of mini enema to get any spare fecal matter that didn't get extruded when you defecated out of your anus and out of the rectum. And if you can do that, then there's nothing there to leak into your underwear. The other thing you can do, and this is just kind of gross, just wear a man pon. Just cram either gauze or a good high-quality toilet paper, not the kind that they have at like the ballpark that just falls apart. You need a high-quality toilet paper, multiply, and you just kind of wrap it around your hand and then just cram it into your ass crack. Particularly if you're a big dude, it'll be easy to do. I was going to say, if he's big, he's probably got a little bit more space in there than he thinks. Yes. And that's why that extra... And there's sweat mixed with feces. Yep. And it's just hard to get rid of. Hey, I hate to interrupt. He may have hemorrhoids too, because hemorrhoids that have prolapsed. Yeah. So if you get an internal hemorrhoid, which is a varicose vein, and it's prolapsed to the outside, what it's actually doing is opening up a channel by which small amounts of liquid fecal matter can leak out of the rectum and into your ass crack. And, the folds of the anus and all that stuff, and it just wicks out, capillary action. Go ahead. What were you going to say? Yeah, I was going to say, those Toto toilets are pretty expensive. They are. Yeah, but for the not so expensive, there are adaptive bidets that you can buy at, your Lowe's and Home Depots that actually fit right exactly where your toilet seat is now. You just take it off, and it's got a little remote control that you just punch the little remote control. It raises up and sprays you and gives you a good little wash. Is that right? Yeah. I actually turned a guy with a really terrible disorder onto that because he was concerned about cleaning himself. Yeah. And he came back, and I thought he was going to hug me to death. He's like, "Oh my God, it's so much better now. My rectum is squeaky clean. Yes, I don't have to have somebody clean me anymore." So I think we've got him dialed in. Let me find this Toto toilet. Yeah, they're $1 now. No, it's $300. Are you looking at the one that's got the bidet function? Oh, I don't know. I doubt it. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I doubt it, Dr. Steve. I'm not looking at what you're seeing, but most... No, this is just a regular plain old boring, yeah. No. You sure it's Toto? Yeah, Toto. Oh, okay. But now the high... Oh, shit. $1,400. Oh, no. 2022. I told you. Damn. I told you. That's what I'm saying. There are better ways. Not say better ways. Let's say there's less expensive options. $2,000 for a toilet that washes your ass. I'm telling you. Now I got one of these shower heads, and it's got 3 different settings, and one of it is Cascade, where it just dumps water on, like if you take a bucket and dump it on your head. And so this is why am I telling this story? But I'm always honest with our listeners. So after I'm done, I move my horrible bowels and I wipe to the best I can. I get in the shower and clean off and everything. And then, the last thing I'll do is soap up my ass crack. But then the very last thing I do when I'm rinsing is I put this thing on the cascade mode. And then
you do a handstand in the
yes,
shower.
Yes, kind of. I'll bend over, spread my cheeks, and just let that hot water just cascade through my ass crack. It feels good, and I feel squeaky clean afterwards. So that shower head was not expensive. I got it at Lowe's just on a whim, and I really like it.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
All right.
So there you go, but we solved it.
Did we, though?
I think.
Hey, Dr. Steve, quick question. Just wondering, use nasal spray for my nose. I use the Navage, cleans me right out. Why can't I still taste my food?
Oof.
Do you have any quick remedies for that? Thanks.
No, so this guy can't taste his food. He didn't say whether he can smell. Most of the time when you can't taste your food, you have a thing called anosmia. And anosmia means that you can't smell. You got to be able to smell to taste your food. So the taste buds just go so far. They'll give you sort of sweet, sour sensations, but you really need to be able to smell to get the full flavor. So there's some integration of those two signals in the brain. I know when I've had a sinus infection and I can't taste anything, it terrifies me because I know that if my food was rotten, I couldn't tell. Just there's no taste. It's maddening. And people that have to live with that, it really sucks. So there are a bunch of different causes for this, but nasal and sinus disease is the most common. About 25% of cases will have some sort of sinus disease, whether they've got swelling to the point where organic molecules can't get up to the sensors because the sensors in the nose are in the very, very top of the nose in this thing called the ethmoid plate that runs along the very top of the nose, way up above the bridge of the nose. And if the tissues below that are swollen to the point where air can't get up there, well, you can't smell anything. You can't smell anything. You can't taste anything. So an ear, nose, and throat doc can look in there and see if you've got a problem like that. My wife doesn't mind if I tell this. She had a thing called a concha bullosa, which is just a big wad of tissue that was in there, and she couldn't smell anything, and she had trouble breathing through it as well. This guy's having that too because he's got a Navage and he's using all these nasal sprays and stuff. So it could be something like that. You could have nasal polyps. Those will not get better on their own. So you got to see an ear, nose, and throat person. Let them look up there. Your primary, if they're worth anything, can look up there and sort of screen for it. Any sort of upper respiratory viral infections. 25% of these cases it just happens. Just happens. And you've got to rule out everything else. You got to do blood tests, brain scans, stuff like that. B12 deficiency can cause it. So they'll test you for B12. Head trauma if you've had some injury to the head. So get this checked out. Not being able to taste your food is actually a sign that really you don't have to run to the emergency room, but you should go get this checked out. You got anything in traditional Chinese medicine for anosmia other than Dr. Scott's nasal spray, which you can get at simplyherbals.net?
Just a nasal spray.
That stuff's awesome. Now, if you can't smell it, you got a problem.
You got a problem, that's right.
Because Dr. Scott's nasal spray is buffered saline, and it's also got peppermint oil in it as an anti-inflammatory agent. And it probably... I figure that peppermint probably dilates the nasal passages a little bit too, probably has some vasoconstrictive properties just because it's just a little bit noxious to those tissues, and they'll sort of recoil from it. But it's great stuff. But anyway, if you can't smell that, then you definitely need to go see an ear, nose, and throat doc.
Yes, agreed.
All right. Okay. Well, I really want to do this one.
Yeah.
This is important.
Hey, Dr. Steve. My wife recently went in for her 20-week ultrasound, and everything looked good on the ultrasound, but they did find an echogenic focus, a single one on the baby's right ventricle. It said it's not the same density as bone or the same color as bone. I've been told that can be associated as a soft marker for Down syndrome. I'm just looking on your thoughts on that. Every other measurement and everything else came back perfect.
Great.
But, just want to know your thoughts. Thanks.
Yeah, if they're really worried about a genetic abnormality, they can test the amniotic fluid for genetic markers for genetic abnormalities and find out if that's really an issue. So what he's saying is they did a cardiac or an ultrasound, and they saw this little dot of echogenicity. In other words, just in an echo. Okay, ultrasound, just sonar.
Sure.
It's bouncing sound waves and then recreating an image based on how those things bounce back. And they found this little echogenic area inside the baby's right heart. Okay, and someone had told him that was a soft finding for trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. Yeah. So this was studied pretty intensely because there were people who thought that there was some correlation between the two. And so they did a prospective population-based observational study from 1997 to 1999. It was 12,373 pregnancies. They found 267 cases of echogenic foci in the fetal heart. And trisomy 21 was detected in 0.31%. Okay, so that was, right at or below what was expected. Mm-hmm. So their conclusion was an isolated echogenic focus in the fetal heart at mid-trimester ultrasound in women aged 18 to 34 years is not associated with increased risk for trisomy 21. So I would not lose one bit of sleep over this. Now, if there are other markers, then of course, do the genetic testing. Sure. But this is, not only is it a soft finding, it's not even a finding. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Doesn't seem to correlate at all. And that was a decent sized study.
Yeah.
Where it had the power to, you need a big study to prove a negative.
Yep.
So. And congratulations on your baby.
Yeah. Let's hope that little one has a good ticker. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And go to drsteve.com. Yep. And click on the one-page baby manual. It's in the upper right-hand corner. It'll tell you everything you need to know for the first year of taking care of that baby. Tried to make it really, really simple.
Do it.
All right. Well.
I had this phenomenon occur to me several times a year. I don't know what it's called, but basically I walk into the store. This is a store that I've been going into for years, sometimes daily. And I notice a picture on the wall or a credit card machine reader, and I ask, are these things new? Because I'm just noticing them. And they look at me kind of weird, and, and of course they're not new. Or another instance, I'll be driving down the road and I'll see a billboard, and it just pops out at me, and it's obviously not new, but I was just wondering what's going on there. What's going on in my brain? Is it a mental disorder? Is it?
No, it's not a mental disorder. What it is your brain functioning normally.
Mm-hmm.
Your brain sees some fraction of what you're actually looking at, and it will filter out things that basically your brain's putting things you see every day on a pay no mind list.
Right, it's a filter. Yep.
That doesn't mean that if you look at them and give them some attention that you won't see them. You just won't see them this shit happens to me all the time. Mm-hmm. I'll be driving to work, the same, and it's like, well, I've never seen that house before. It's been there this whole time. I see people in the hospital every day. It's like there's an infinite number of people that I don't know in the hospital, because I see somebody every day that I've never seen before.
Right.
So, no, it's totally normal. The normal brain will filter out extraneous shit in an attempt to allow you to focus on what's really important, which is going in and buying that tall boy of Miller or whatever it is you're doing in the convenience store, or getting to work on it safely.
Just the same thing your brain does when you're sleeping.
Well, what's that? How is that?
Well, it just focuses on what's important versus what's unimportant at the time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So
breathing and making your heart beat and stuff.
Exactly. Resting. Yep.
Okay, we've got 30 seconds. I don't have time for this. The person that called in about the white spots on their scrotum, those are called Fordyce spots. Google them. Thanks always go to Dr. Scott. We can't forget Rob Sprance, Bob Kelly, Craig Hughes, Anthony Cumia, Jim Norton, Travis Teff, Lewis Johnson, Paul Ovcharsky, Eric Nagel, Roland Campos, Sam Roberts, Pat Duffy, Dennis Falcone, Ron Bennington, and Fez Watley, whose early support of the show has never gone unappreciated. Listen to our SiriusXM show on the Faction Talk channel, SiriusXM channel 103, Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern on demand, and other times at Jim McClure's pleasure. Many thanks go to our listeners whose voicemail and topic ideas make this job very easy, and go to our website, drsteve.com, for schedules and podcasts and other crap. Until next time, check your stupid nuts for lumps, quit smoking, get off your asses, and get some exercise. We'll see you in 1 week for the next edition of Weird Medicine.